So here's 5 reasons why you suck at TIG welding and how you can remedy them. Reason number 1, your gas flow is too high. Most beginners who experience porosity will think that more gas means better welds. Now the obvious truth is that yes, that is correct. More gas coverage will improve your welds and reduce porosity. However, simply turning your flow rate up will actually do the opposite. Let me explain. Your shielding gas, in our case argon, exits the TIG torch at whatever rate we set it to. It's heavier than air, so it falls and settles over the weld pool, and it hangs around long enough to protect it whilst it cools. Now, unless you're using a massive cup and have some back purge or trail set up, because the gas has to exit the small orifice of the torch, turning the flow rate up adds pressure to the stream, causing it to jet out at speed. It causes turbulence when the argon travels through the air. This actually mixes it with the gases in the atmosphere. The speed of the jet actually drags air into your argon stream through a process called entrainment. So start off slow, even at around 4 litres per minute, and work your way up. You can increase your flow rate as you get more used to your setup, your cup size, and also your travel speed. All of these things are connected in getting the right coverage. In most cases, I'll set my TIG welding setup between 6 and 8 litres per minute, and then I'll go from there. That's also usually the information that you'll get told during your apprenticeship or other training. Number 2, you aren't sharpening your tungstens correctly. Just because you already know that you need a sharp electrode doesn't mean that you're doing it correctly. You don't need a fancy tungsten grinder, but you do need to be mindful, as many of the tungsten types that we use in TIG welding are mildly radioactive. So make sure you wear the proper PPE and you dispose of your old electrodes correctly. I just use a soft grinding wheel on a bench grinder. Have your tungsten pointing up away from you and place the head gently on the spinning wheel. Carefully move it between your fingers, spinning it, forming a cone at the top of the electrode. This means that all of the grooves will travel in the same direction from the electrode to the tip. You want them all traveling in a straight line, as the electrical arc produced when welding will sometimes follow these grooves. And if you sharpen the tungsten sideways, this can cause your arc to wander, or it can even cause frizzing or pigtailing. You'll notice this more when you're arcing up or easing off your power. Now, I've seen a lot of people sharpen this way, downwards. However, I never personally do that. They mainly do this because they're concerned about the tungsten snagging when it's being pointed upwards. But if you're careful and you don't push too hard, that will almost never happen. It's never happened to me in the 10 years that I've been doing it. However, if you do have it pointing downwards, what can happen is, if the tungsten heats up through the friction, you can loosen your grip or let go, and that will cause it to get sucked into the grinder. The tungsten electrodes are quite brittle, so they'll break apart in there, and the grinder could throw that shrapnel back out towards you. Grinding your tungsten to the correct angle is very important. However, having them grooves all go in the same direction will instantly improve your arc control. Number 3, you aren't utilizing copper chills. Copper has a very high thermal conductivity, and although it has a lower melting point than steel, it actually takes higher amperage to weld. This is because it's so efficient at dragging heat away from a single spot. This makes copper an excellent choice for chills when welding steel or steel alloys. You can place a copper chill at the back of your beveled root joint or even butt joint in order to minimize your blow through and get excellent penetration without blowing the back out of your weld. You can also use copper as heat control when you're welding thinner materials. I'll upload a more detailed video explaining the uses of copper when welding, but for now, experiment using copper in the ways I've just described. Number 4, you're holding your torch incorrectly. This may seem patronizing, and yes, personal preference does come into play. But if you came from MIG welding or you're new to TIG, you might suck simply because you're holding your torch incorrectly. I've seen it before with students in welding school or seasoned MIG welders when transferring over to TIG, holding the welding torch like an axe. Then they'll use the button and press it with their thumb like this. Then they'll wonder why they've got no control over their weld pool. TIG is like the artistic side of welding. It takes a steady hand, detail, and a bit of finesse. Instead of chopping wood, hold it like a pencil, having it between your index finger and your thumb. Then wrap your index finger around the torch, and if you're using pedal TIG, that's it. But if you're using button TIG, you can then push the button with your index finger, just like that. The micro movements that you've just unlocked by holding the torch in this position will be like night and day. It will give you so much more control. It will also allow you to properly brace your wrists on the table, or if you're working on a bench, you can rest your forearms on there. That also gives you a pivot and twist motion as well. If you're doing long runs and struggle with freehand or walking the cup, you can rest your forearms on your pivot points. You can then do a dry run to make sure that you'll reach all of the areas that you need to weld, and then you can start in the middle and work from there for a full range of motion. You should be implementing heat control methods like skip or step back welding, so you shouldn't really need to do extremely long runs anyway. If you're on site or welding ships and you have nothing to lean on, use your knee. And finally, number 5, you're caught up buying expensive gear instead of practicing. Expensive gear is good. Some of the best air-fed masks and welding helmets that I've used have cost well over £1,000. And they're great if you're using them every day, and even better if the boss is paying for them. However, if you're self-employed or you're a hobbyist just getting into welding, you do not need expensive gear to get started. You can get an excellent wide view true colour welding mask for under £50 these days. I'll put a link to one in the description. Now, with your machines, I would recommend using a trusted brand, but you can get good quality second-hand machines from auction apps or marketplace websites. You can buy a machine like mine, the ESAB Buddy TIG, brand new for about £500. I bought mine second-hand for £300. Now, I've used some great machines during my welding career. Big names like Miller, Lincoln Electric, Kempe, but I wasn't paying for those. And now I've gone out on my own, I'll work up to that. Be humble and don't fall into the trap of buying really expensive brands when you just don't need to. The welding and fabrication snobs might give you funny looks at first, but if your work is good, that will speak for itself. You can always work up to expensive kit. The biggest takeaway here is that nothing beats practice. These tips should help you out, and this knowledge, coupled with time spent under the hood, you'll be laying those Instagram-worthy welds in no time. For more videos like this, and to see some of the stuff that I've made, subscribe. Please like this video, and here's a welding project you can do as a beginner. Enjoy.